Hi, I'm Steve Ledoux, Town Manager here in Acton, and welcome to Acton Agenda. It's a show about the upcoming Selectmen's meeting, which in this case is October 31st, Halloween, which I think is very unusual to have a meeting on Halloween. It'll be the first in my almost 40-year career, and I will be going in costume. And we actually are having a employee contest to see who can guess what I'm going to be, and they will have a lunch on me if somebody figures it out. But at any rate, today we have Janet Adachi, who's the Vice Chair of the Board of Selectmen, and Janet's here to talk about some of the things the Selectmen will be considering on October 31st. So welcome, Janet, and thanks for being on.
Glad to be here. And I'm not assuring that I'm going to come in costume to the meeting next Monday.
You won't have to. I'm taking care of it.
I'll bring candy, though. I'll bring lots of candy because we bought too much as usual. So.
Well, good for me. Okay. So I know some folks, particularly people who live in the area of Idlewild Farms, got a notice about a public hearing for a site plan special permit for some expansion they want to do. And I just want to let everybody know that we will not be having that hearing Monday night. It'll actually be continued to November 7th. And the primary reason for that is the fact that for the Board of Selectmen to vote on a site plan special permit, they need what is known as a supermajority, which is 4 votes out of 5. Chairman Peter Berry will not be there Monday night. Selectman Franny Osmond is in a butter, so she can't vote, so that kind of leaves 3 selectmen. So we'll be continuing that on until November 7th, and we have agreement by the petitioner to do that. So don't know if you want to add anything about that.
Yeah, I actually was at the Design Review Board meeting when they reviewed that project, so I know what it is. It's a proposed new building, a 2-story, it looks like a barn. It passed muster with the Design Review Board, and it's so that they'll have a food prep location that's separate from the existing facility. I think they probably plan to expand the retail operation a little bit, and right now all the food prep is at the back, I guess, of the existing building. So I think that they'd like to have a separate building for food prep. Design Review Board did have some comments, which obviously will come up when we finally do have the hearing. But it is, I think, an attractive building. I think we've heard from some neighbors about, I guess, controlling the trash that blows around, and so we'll obviously have a chance to address that when we finally do have the hearing start. So.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
But that's it for our hearings.
Yeah, and it's not going to be a hearing, so
yeah.
make it easier.
So it'll be very quick, and so it will be Selectmen's business and then the consent agenda. Might be a short night. So, but Selectmen's business is the Acton Nursing Service Advisory Committee charge discussion and vote. Do you know something about that? I recall something, but go ahead.
Well, for the last couple years, the Selectmen had appointed an Acton Nursing Service Task Force, and their primary focus was on marketing the Acton Nursing Service and to get them better known and therefore bring in more clients and more revenue. They have made a lot of suggestions about marketing and things like that, but the recommendation of that group is that they become a kind of a formal standing committee of the town, that they continue their marketing efforts on an ongoing basis. So it's really for the Board of Selectmen to review that charge and see if the Selectmen agree, because it is a Selectmen's appointment, as to whether they want to continue this group as a formal standing committee of the town.
All right, and then there's another item. It's the Cherry Ridge project. You know something about that?
Right. Well, this involves a piece of property at 4 Cherry Ridge Road that the town acquired in back taxes, I think, in the late 70s or early 80s. It's a buildable lot. It's been vacant. Basically, I think it's pretty well treed over. The discussion will be whether the Selectmen would be interested in bringing to town meeting a proposal to develop that into an affordable housing project, a single family or perhaps a duplex, that the Acton Community Housing folks would help bring to being. You know, as you know, we need to get to 10% of our housing stock as affordable. We're only at like 6.7, 6.8. So every little bit helps. So that'll be a proposal to see if the Board of Selectmen endorse that, and we would, if they do, would be putting that on the annual town meeting warrant for April to dispose of the property
And
for affordable housing.
Yeah, and I think that also there will be some, the Acton Community Housing Corporation is already prepared to start doing outreach to the neighbors who otherwise might be caught by surprise. At least with this proposed housing development, it's small, very small scale, and so I think the hope is that that will add to our housing, affordable housing stock without causing sort of the uproar that some affordable housing developments do cause because of the density and the size. And then anything else?
Well, the only thing I was going to mention is the town did do some perk tests, I think 2 years ago, and then everybody kind of got focused on the Morrison farmhouse, so nothing really happened on this property, which is why we're kind of viewing it again.
And I think that was also sort of some of the inspiration for reviving this, because obviously the Morrison farmhouse at one point was a subject of discussion as a habitat project, and because that is not going to happen, I think there was some interest in maybe keeping habitat involved, because they've done some very nice work in our town. Very low-key affordable houses, and they're owner-occupied. The owners have to get involved in actually doing the renovation, and it's an opportunity for residents who are interested in volunteering to help. They work with skilled builders, carpenters, and the like, so that the building is stable. But it can be a good opportunity to sort of help out in a community way. I'd like to do that if I ever, if I have free time. But okay, and then it looks like the last item on the Selectmen's business is the Minuteman Belmont's request to withdraw from the regional district. This is something I know something about because I'm the liaison for the board for the Minuteman School District. I guess residents will recall that on September 20th, there was a 16-town ballot vote on the proposed Minuteman new building project, and it was approved by a majority of all the votes cast in the 16 towns. But Belmont, out of the 16 towns, was the one town where the voters voted down the project. And under the terms of the regional agreement, they have the option of then seeking to withdraw from the district, that meaning that they have to call a special town meeting, which they did on the 19th of this month. And their town meeting, which is a representative town meeting, did vote to withdraw from the district. So I assume that the notice has been given by their town clerk to the district, which then the school committee turns around and sends the notice to the 16 towns. The towns then have 60 days to weigh in on Belmont's request to withdraw. If a town chooses not to call a special town meeting, which is how you have to weigh in if you want to, then the silence is deemed to be an approval. So it requires a majority that approve, or at least a majority not disapprove of the withdrawal. One item that people should be aware of is if Belmont does get approval to withdraw, they remain a member for 3 years and would presumably leave the district effective July of 2020, which is just months before the new building project is supposed to be done. 3 years is a long time, so who knows what might happen. They might change their minds. But also under the terms of the regional agreement, they are not obligated for any of the new building debt if it comes to that. So, but as I said, the anticipation is that there will be new members joining when the new building is well underway. So, but that's a development to watch.
Right, and that's one of the oddities of state law, is the fact that if the selectmen decide not to call a town meeting, then de facto Acton is supporting Belmont's withdrawal, which is kind of weird.
It's difficult. We just had a special town meeting, and I think last year was a year of many special town meetings, and I think people were weary of them, or some people are. But we'll see.
Yeah, and the other thing too is Belmont, if they do succeed in pulling out, which sounds like I don't think it's going to be a big appetite for a lot of towns to call a special, from at least what I've talked to my colleagues. They may be able to tuition their children in, but it's kind of first come, first serve, and it's all depending upon how many district students are in the new school and things like that. So it's really a complicated issue for sure.
It is, and I think that one of the assumptions that Belmont was making was that it would be less expensive for them to send their kids to the school as a non-member, because historically there was a break for non-member towns with regard to especially the capital contribution, but now the state is stepping up and supporting vocational schools like Minuteman and saying, if you're a non-member town, you have to, the school can charge you not only the tuition for operating expenses, but also a capital contribution. And I think that some people have done some calculations and determined that Belmont actually wouldn't see very much of a savings, in part because of the towns being affluent and also the size of their enrollment. They enroll a lot of kids. So I think that might have caught some people in Belmont by surprise, but too late to affect their vote to withdraw. So
Exactly.
anything else?
No.
Well, now we're down to the consent agenda. It has the usual items, meaning the library is seeking to dispose of obsolete material. There is a one-day alcoholic beverage license, and there's also Eagle Scout Court of Honor for a couple of scouts, which Selectman Osmond will cover. There's a committee appointment. There are a few items that are unusual. One is the appointment for sealer weights and measures. Do you know something about that?
Yeah, well, the individual who's been our sealer of weights and measures for quite some time, and that's a required, a state required position, that we have an individual that goes out, makes sure that all the scales in the supermarkets and the gas pumps all are accurate, that they're weighing things correctly, or in the case of gas, putting out the right amount of out of liquid. That individual has retired. It is a selectman's appointment, so we'll have a recommendation for the board to appoint that person, or persons, I think, to move forward on that. So it's not a known position, but when you think about it as a consumer, it's a very important position.
It is. I would imagine that a lot of people don't even think about the fact that these scales and all these, and the gas pumps and all that are all subject to monitoring to make sure that they're accurate, and it's all in the interest of consumer protection. So good to know. Community preservation application request for the Regional Housing Services Organization funding, the planning department.
So this is just an application that's going to the Community Preservation Committee to fund the Regional Housing Service Organization, which has been funded the last few years. I don't remember exactly how many. The Regional Housing Service Organization basically monitors our efforts for affordable housing. It makes sure that if an affordable unit goes on the market, that it's being marketed correctly, that we still retain affordability and things like that. So, you know, in a lot of towns, it's very hard for staff to monitor it. So it's nice to have an organization that's regionalized that can do that. And you know, they service a lot of the communities around here. You know, Concord ourselves, Bedford. I think they just added Burlington a little while ago. Mainly all of the towns around here, Sudbury, et cetera. So it's you know, it's a relatively new organization, maybe 4 or 5 years old, but it does a good job for us, and one I would hope the Board of Selectmen would support to seek more funding for them to monitor our housing activities.
I would agree, as the liaison to the Acton Community Housing Corporation, which historically had actually done a lot of this sort of oversight in our town. It has been a real boon for them, because the RHSO, the professionals in affordable housing, and it's so much easier for them to monitor all of what's going on. They keep track of not only the affordable housing stock, but they also keep track of things when a house goes up for resale, making sure that the resale price is in accordance with the affordable housing restriction in the deed. So, so that sort of thing is easy for a volunteer committee to lose track of, and obviously also town staff. So I would agree that it's money well spent. And then the last item of that's a little bit unusual is this transfer of development rights and the restriction for Great Road. This is actually 7 to 29 Great Road, on the eastern end of Great Road. And I remember this, it was special permit project that came before the Board of Selectmen some months ago. It encompasses 3, I think, historical properties that the developer plans to preserve. It is going to be housing, a housing complex, but to allow, not a big scale housing complex, but to allow denser development. They're transferring the development rights from a property down Great Road. I've forgotten which one it is exactly.
Yeah, I don't
Is it
remember
where the
either.
music school, or anyhow?
Not
It's
quite, no, I don't think so,
but they're transferring those development rights to this property. It's permissible under the zoning bylaw. It's not unusual for it to happen, but it's an area that's already pretty built up. And then I guess the restriction must have to do with the other property to make clear that you can't build out that property. It's subject to, it's already given up its development rights. So.
okay.
All right, and that's about it. Our big meeting is going to be the next night.
The next night, right, where we'll be continuing the hearing on the site plan special permit for the Concord Water Treatment Plant on Nagog Pond. So that will be probably a lengthy meeting, as all of them have been so far, but the Board of Selectmen will also be taking a site visit to the site on Friday morning, the 28th.
It's actually tomorrow.
It is tomorrow, but
Tomorrow
we don't know when
morning.
people are going to be watching the show. So,
But yeah, and yeah, the hearing on Tuesday is going to be at the high school auditorium to accommodate the level of interest in the hearing. The last hearing we had in room 204 was really standing room only and kind of congested.
right.
So
In theory, room 204 holds about 300, but practically it doesn't seem
well,
like
if
that.
we were all standing like
Right,
sardines,
yeah.
maybe we would have all fit. But
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
and I think that's it.
All right.
Is there anything else?
I
Nope.
don't think so. So I'd like to thank everybody for watching and thank Janet for being on the show. And we'll actually be doing the show again next week because as the way the Selectmen's schedule falls, we'll be having a meeting on November 7th. So we'll be seeing you again next week. And thank you for watching Acton Agenda. Thanks.